Quick question. Have you or anybody you know ever said, "I'm tired of being a beginner poi spinner"? Sick of doing the same 3 or 4 tricks over and over again? Want to find a way to level up, or want to be able to get access to all those cool tricks you see other people online doing? Well, I'm here to help. Drex here from DrexFactor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can finally break out of the beginner's curse. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Paraterra Light Toys, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Pekka Pekkonen. Thank you so very much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So just to put this out there, everybody learns at a different pace, and there's no shame in being at a beginner level for days, weeks, months, or even years at a time. Sometimes the leaps come quickly, and sometimes they take a long time to get to. Be kind to yourself and give yourself some grace. Just because a bunch of people that you knew jumped out ahead of you, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or how you're learning. There are plenty of other people out there that are in the exact same boat that you are. But all that said, if you are ready to push the envelope and move on from where you're at, I've got 5 different ways that you can do it. Starting with tip number 1, make your practice regular. So this is definitely going to set a precedent on this list that a lot of my advice is going to turn out to be stuff that either seems really obvious or that is kind of boring. But here's the thing, sometimes those obvious and boring tips are what work. If you're serious about getting into intermediate poi spinning, you also need to get serious about your practice. You need to make sure that you're doing it regularly and that you're really pushing yourself every time you do it. Try and schedule yourself 45 minutes to an hour of practice every other day, or if possible, every single day. You'll see results almost right away. And it does need to be said that we have neuroscience research on the effectiveness of practice and learning and progressing as a result of it. And the thing is, you might be tempted to, say, on a weekend, get in 4, 5, maybe even 8 hours of practice and then have nothing going on the rest of the week. And it doesn't work. What makes your practice allow you to progress is to be doing it regularly, which I know is a pain in the butt, but hey, brain's got a brain, right? If you can do an hour a day or an hour every other day, you're going to be in great shape. Tip number 2, gain repetition control. So this is a topic that I tend to harp on a lot, and that I harp on my students a lot too. Namely, when you get down a trick, it's important to not just get down the trick, but get down the control of that trick, and being able to control how many times in a row you do it. I can and should be proud that I've gotten down a 3-beat weave, but you know what I should be aiming to do once I get down that 3-beat weave? I should be able to decide whether I'm going to do it once, twice, 3 times and stop, or whether I'm just going to do it once and stop, or whether I'm going to do it a whole 10 or 100 times. Basically, you want to be fully in command of when you start and also when you stop the trick. Only then are you in a place where you have enough control over it that you can get into intermediate territory with said trick. And this will be true of every single trick that you learn. So, whether it's a 3-beat weave, whether it's a thread the needle, whether it is a windmill, practice doing 1, 3, 5, all the way up to 10 reps, and then all the way back down. When you have complete control over that, you're going to be in great shape. Tip number 3, work on restricted mobility plane control. Goodness, so that's certainly a word salad. What exactly does it mean? Well, basically, when we first learn most of our poi tricks, we're learning them in a place where our hands are in front of us and we have the full use of our shoulders, arms, wrists, and hands in order to control the plane that the poi are spinning in. But there are plenty of cases where we have other spots where we have a little bit less mobility that we still have to learn our plane control in. So I'll give you 3 examples of this in action, starting with the first poi trick that I ever learned in a reduced mobility space, namely crossers, which, guess what? your arms are crossed in them. Now, this means that you're working from a place where you have only your wrists and hands to help you out in controlling the plane of the poi. Granted, as you pivot your upper body back and forth, it does have an influence here too. But in order to get these down, as I showed in a tutorial just a few weeks ago, you have to be able to keep the poi spinning in plane with your arms crossed, as opposed to keeping them in plane with your arms uncrossed, where you have all of that lovely mobility to work with. Here, you have significantly more of a challenge to keeping the poi in plane. Another great example of this, which I hate doing, is your behind the back poi tricks. Once again, we're operating in a place where our hands and wrists have very, very limited mobility. And because of that, we need to train ourselves how to keep our planes straight in a spot where we don't have a lot of control over our arms to get there. For our final example, this right here, what is sometimes called the no-beat windmill. And really what we're talking about is a place where I'm keeping the poi behind my head. Because my shoulder and upper arm are really immobilized at this spot, I have to, once again, not just keep control of the plane with mostly my wrist and hand, but I also have to do it in a spot that I cannot see. So there's a funny thing that happens when you drill these things. That is when you practice keeping your plane straight with your arms crossed, when you practice keeping your plane straight with your hand behind your back, or when it is behind your head like so. It turns out getting control of your planes in all these different spots is going to make your planes more clean overall, even in the spots where you can fully see everything and you have full mobility of your hands and wrists. It has benefits beyond which you can imagine. Tip number 4, learn linear isolations and extensions. So once again, we are dealing with a bit of a word salad here, but basically linear isolations are these moments as we take our hands back and forth when we have the poi kind of poke out to either side. Linear extensions are when we have our hand move back and forth in a straight line and the poi just spins around them in a single beat like so. Now, these are really important for several reasons. When you get down your linear extensions, you can use them to build up tricks such as your triketras or Zan's diamond, basically anything made out of straight lines, right? As opposed to your linear isolations, which you can use to get down your anti-spin flowers or body tracers, as well as a host of other tricks. But here's a little bit of a secret. What linear isolations and linear extensions are actually teaching you is something that I like to call beat control. That is, whenever we're first learning our poi tricks, we tend to operate in this place where we keep our hands more or less riveted in place and we get into this regular kind of rhythm where we do a beat every half a second or so. And the thing is, when we start getting into things like flowers, we wind up in this weird kind of locked off place where we keep having the poi spin as we try and move our arms around. And we need to be more in control of when the poi spins and when it doesn't. Guess what? Linear isolations and linear extensions help you develop that control. Once again, we're talking about learning a very basic concept that is going to have huge and wide-reaching implications for your flow. Pick them up sooner rather than later, and you'll thank me later. Tip number 5, drill your transitions as often as you drill your tricks. All right, so stop me if you've seen this one before. You get somebody who has just learned how to do a 3-beat weave, or maybe a butterfly, or maybe they're at a point where they're still working on just their reel turns, and every time they want to switch into a different trick, they have to completely stop their poi and then get moving once again with the new trick, which is really a pain in the butt if you're doing this on fire, am I right? And here's why that happens. When we are beginners, we get caught in what I think of as being the trick trap. That is, we're operating from a place where we think of every trick as kind of being an island of movement unto itself. And we don't really work on getting back and forth between those different islands. And that needs to change. So let's say that you come up with a basic combo. Start with like a 3-beat weave, you do a pendulum to take yourself into a thread the needle, and then you do another pendulum to get you back into that 3-beat weave. Guess what? you need to drill the transition with at least as much vigor as you do the tricks. So rather than sitting here and doing like 10 reps of the 3-beat weave and then doing 10 reps of the thread the needle, what I prefer you do is first and foremost work on the transition. Work on doing the thing where you do the pendulum, keep one poi going and the other one switches direction, and once again pendulum, the other poi keeps on spinning, and that takes you back into your tricks. Once you get better at keeping one poi moving while the other one switches direction, I want you to drill these transitions. I want you to think you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 3-beat weaves, do the pendulum, 1, 2, 3, thread the needles, back to your weaves, and you're going to do 3 reps here, yeah? The thing is, you need to make drilling those transitions at least as important as the tricks themselves. And this can actually manifest in a lot of different ways. I have a drill I love to give my students where I have them use pendulums to get back and forth between all of the wall plane timing and direction modes that involve together time, like so. I also will sometimes have people just go ahead and drill performing stalls with one hand, like so. And then of course there's drilling stalls with both hands and just seeing how you do at getting around with the different stall patterns you have available to you. Again, make these as important as drilling the tricks that we all know and love. And what I can promise you, friends, is if you take these 5 tips from me, you will improve, and you probably will do so rapidly. So go forth and see if you can get to those higher levels. If you got anything out of this video, please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to help other people find it, and of course, to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible without my amazing supporters on Patreon. In particular, I'd love to give a shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen right now. Thank you all so much for your support, and if you out there watching would like to get your name in the credits or access to any of a host of other awesome rewards, you can do that by going and checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. I'll include a link down in the description as well as up in the cards. Thank you so much. Help me spread the love of poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world. And if you're curious when you have arrived as an intermediate poi spinner, what are the things that you should be looking out for in how you spin and what you spin? I actually did a video a few years ago on some diagnostics that I think will tell you if you've arrived. I'll go ahead and link to that on screen as well as down in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Take care now. Peace.